Well, here we are, first weekend of Advent, starting off our Advent season. But what's Advent all about? You might say that Advent is a season of already and not yet. Advent's kind of an odd season. We start a new church year, and for a year we'll hear from Mark's gospel readings. But Mark is the shortest of the gospels, so we'll also hear some of John's gospel to fill in some of the weekends. And it's not Christmas during Advent, but we do things that look like Christmas, right? We do a lot of Christmas activities. Shopping, cooking, holiday parties at work, even Christmas carols. And we know we are to prepare for Jesus, but we're buying gifts. We're decorating the tree, eating Christmas cookies, as if Christmas was already here. We are to prepare our hearts. But the world we're in is busy and distracting. When will you and I make any time for prayer and reflection? This year, the fourth Sunday of Advent is December 24th. So on that day, Advent is till noon. After noon, it becomes Christmas Eve. So Advent is 3 weeks and 1 day this year. A little odd. And the Gospels we've heard the last few weeks have talked about being prepared for the final days of Jesus, when Jesus will come to judge us. And then we start hearing about Jesus' birth, when Jesus first comes. The Gospel today is from the final teaching that Jesus did in Mark's Gospel. It's the first Sunday of the year, and we hear from the final part of that Gospel. And finally, we are to prepare for Jesus' coming, but we know he has been born and he has come already. How do we prepare for the incarnation of Jesus when we know the story already? It may not be entirely clear what the purpose of the Advent season is. The time of Advent is about not yet. We think about the Holy Family preparing for the birth of Jesus. Can you imagine how excited they were about this new baby? We anticipate a world where the Son of God comes as a baby to live among us, to grow as a human person, to enter into our world and share our experiences. During Advent, we experience anticipation of Jesus' birth. We tell our children stories about his birth. We decorate manger scenes, but we don't put the baby in yet. We reflect on the wonder of Jesus, Son of God, becoming human, of God loving us so much that God wanted to enter our world and to live with us. When you think about that, it's pretty amazing. During Advent, we consider that Jesus is coming, but not yet. He hasn't been born until Christmas Day. We can also consider the idea that Jesus will come again at the end of times. Jesus will be welcoming us into heaven and encouraging us to greet those who have died before us. We want to live lives that are worthy of God's love and God's offer to live with him for eternity. These days are not yet, but we believe they will come, and we are to be prepared to meet a loving God face to face. Our lives can be tedious, repetitive, and boring at times. But if we are aware of the not yet of Jesus and of our whole lives, we can look forward to that special day when we enter into God's eternity. It can be healthy to anticipate, to look forward to what will come. Kind of like eating the same meals every week, but looking forward to your first rainbow cone. The time of Advent is also about already. We know that Jesus has been born. We have stories of his life and of his teachings. We live our lives in a context of being Christian, following the teaching of Jesus. We have already experienced God in our lives. We have many reminders of God in our lives. We're grateful for the good things we have received. And we have a church of fellow believers who come together to pray alongside us to this amazing God. I was at Adoration of the Blessed Sacrament on Friday, and I was thinking of how Jesus is present in the Eucharist, in the consecrated hosts right now. And Jesus is not yet, because Jesus is also to come when at this Mass the host will be consecrated and become the body of Christ. Another example of already and not yet. A question. You ever thought about the way we speak about coming together to pray at Mass? We can say, I've got to go to Mass today. Or we can say, I get to go to Mass today. The difference? I've got to go to Mass today, or I get to go to Mass today. One way looks at Mass as a duty that I grudgingly have to do. The other way looks at Mass as an opportunity, a special event that I am lucky to experience. Imagine if our thinking was, I can't wait to get to Mass. I'll bet our children would pick up on the way we talk about Mass. So Jesus is already in our lives at Mass and in other ways. And Jesus is not yet here as we prepare for his birth on Christmas. Advent is about already and not yet. Today we're celebrating. We're celebrating the young people and the adults who are preparing to join the Catholic faith and to receive the sacraments. They've been inquirers for several months, and as they decided they wanted to continue with this journey to fully join the Church. And today they declare their interest to us out loud. We welcome them in. We support them. There's still a lot of learning to do before they receive their sacraments at Easter, when they will officially become full members of the Catholic Church. And they will need our prayers each week as we come together to discuss and to learn about our Catholic faith.